And good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Matchday Live, Lincoln City's pre-match show. The Imps travelling to Gillingham, knowing a win this evening will take them back to the top of the League One table. Been a bit of a week of ups and downs, hasn't it? Disappointment against Doncaster last Saturday, albeit a pretty brilliant performance from Michael Appleton's men, but then another EFL Trophy semi-final to look forward to after that excellent penalty shootout victory. Alex Palmer, the hero, on Tuesday night. The Imps overcoming Hull, of course, facing Hull in a few days' time as well. Gary Hutchinson, as ever, joins me on this evening's Matchday Live, and Gary is also directing tonight's show as well, stepping in for our man Charlie, who's at Priestfield, having a few internet connection problems there. He may well be back to join us later on in the show. But Gary doing the work of two men this evening. Gary, great to see you.
Great to see you too, Sam. Clicking away and everything. There's a lot of pressure on, but I'm sure we'll get through it. We certainly will, Gary. Ahead of tonight's game, what have you made of Gillingham so far this season then? 13th in League One. Are they closer to being playoff candidates or relegation candidates? What would you say? It's quite hard to call. They do seem to be quite patchy at times. So they went through a really bad run, I think, of 1 win in 7 games over the Christmas period. And then they've gone on a decent run recently as well. So they're quite unpredictable. I think they're almost, I'd probably term them as Northampton plus, because they do play quite a direct game, but they've got some really good players we shouldn't underestimate. They don't just go long to the Dane Oliver. They've got Jordan Graham on one flank, who's obviously a real danger. I think they've got Conor Ogilvie plays at the back. They've got some really good players, so it's going to be a challenge. And it's the Steve Evans side, so you know they're going to be compact. Yeah,
it certainly is. We'll be chatting about Steve Evans later on in the show. We'll be having a Gillingham fan live on around about 5:15 as well. Gary, in terms of last week, we're going to be looking in depth to that Doncaster game later on in the show as well. But it was a frustrating one, but it was some performance again by our boys, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I thought we played really well. I think Doncaster are a very good side. They were good at what they did. Again, they were really organised. But there's only so much that you can do, I think, when you're up against a team that are as good as they are. We did give them a bit of a soft goal. You know, we sat off the boy. He was able to run straight at us, which we saw again on Tuesday night, which could be a worry. But Doncaster will be there or thereabouts. To coin a cliche, you know, if you finish above them, you're definitely going to be in the playoffs, and you might even be in the Championship. And I thought we were better than them, pound for pound. You know, there's no legislating for 2 penalty misses. It happens. Saw plenty of criticism of the players, but again, they've redeemed themselves since. It's business as usual. You dust yourself down, you lose some games.
Let's have a look back at that Hull City win on Tuesday night then in the EFL Trophy. And Gary, the Imps got off to the perfect start, didn't they?
Yes, they did, absolutely. It was an atrocious pitch, but this was great play. It was a lovely ball from Brennan Johnson. You know, I'm always looking at the ball before the pass. Superb. Anthony Scully, who's been in great form as well with a cross, a little bit weak defensively, but Harry Anderson gambled at the front post, and that gives you a lead to defend, and we are very good at defending leads at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, what did you make of the pitch as well? You'd have thought a side like us, who just absolutely love playing on the deck, would have struggled. Certainly, judging by the first half performance, wasn't the case at all, was it?
No, I don't think it was. I think, you know, the pitch was tough for both sides. We both played quite a nice passing game. In places, it was really sticky. The ball was holding up, which hindered the game. In other parts, it was so skiddy, it was running away. So it was unpredictable. And I always felt that there might be a mistake in it, or there might be a slip there that would win or lose the game. And I think the fact that there wasn't is a testament to both teams' professionalism. Let's take nothing away from Hull City. There's a reason that they're favourites to go back up. They've got some wonderful footballers. But I wouldn't say a low show, a weakened side, but certainly not our full first team, dealt admirably with their threat. And Alex Palmer was absolutely excellent. Yeah,
he was. I mean, as far as dress rehearsal goes, it was a pretty good one, wasn't it? I know I mentioned the pitch before, but clearly two very good sides who are, you know, you'd probably say that 2 of the best sides in the division, if not the 2 best.
Yeah, it's certainly 2 of the best sides. I mean, that run from Greg Doherty, their former Rangers lad, was absolutely superb. It was a great dress rehearsal, and I think that it was it lets us know what to expect, both in terms of the pitch, in terms of the way that Hull approached the game. But also there was a lot of redemption there for certain players. We talked about the penalty shootout earlier. Anthony Scully and George Grant both showing real strength and real character to take penalties. Not the first and second, not meaningless, but not the early penalties where there's not as much pressure. The key penalties where if you miss, you cost the game. I thought that was huge.
Lewis Monsman, of course, playing his part in that victory as well. He gave his pre-match press conference. This is what he had to say, speaking to Michael Horton about the other night's victory.
So you managed to recover from Tuesday night. It looked a real game on a heavy pitch there to get used to, and obviously a fantastic result.
Yeah, fantastic result. It was a difficult game because of the pitch, but I think we managed to play the game very well, actually. We won on penalties, so yeah, I think it was a tough game for everybody, for the legs. But yeah, I feel fine now, but I'm not sure about the other guys because they played the game a few days before also, and I haven't played a game in 3 weeks, so it was good to play a game again.
And also put your hand up for the penalty. It didn't look the easiest of conditions for the standing foot for the penalties.
Yeah, but no excuse. Should have been a goal. But because of Palmer, we won the game. So we saved three amazing penalties. So just very, very nice.
And as a player living abroad, growing up and watching English football, seeing Wembley, to think that, I know you're putting it to bed for now, but your one game for Wembley must be very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. And we're going to keep giving everything every game. So that will be nice.
Yeah, Lewis Monsman speaking to BBC Radio Lincolnshire's Michael Horton there. Gary, do you expect Lewis to return to the starting 11 this evening as well? Of course, he had an injury, didn't he, that kept him out of action for a couple of weeks, but played a big part on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think it's 50-50 because I think Joe Walsh and Adam Jackson have been excellent. And I think Michael has a policy of if you don't do anything wrong, you don't come out of the side. If you lose your place, you have to wait for your opportunity to take it back. We've seen that with Anthony Scully. We've seen it with Harry Anderson being left out as well. So I don't think Lewis is an automatic choice to come back into the side. If it was my choice, I would probably play Lewis and Joe Walsh. There's a real physical presence up there in for Dane Oliver. So it's going to take a couple of experienced defenders, I think, to contain that. Aerially, I don't think that any of our defenders are particularly weak. So it's just a great position to be in. We've got 3 centre-halves, all of whom are worthy of a first-team place.
Yeah, absolutely. Deadline day saw a couple of new arrivals as well, didn't it, Gary? Cohen Bramall joining up with the Imps on a permanent deal, and Max Sanders as well. Let's start with Max. Gary, what did you make of that signing? Judging by the Brighton fans, they were pretty disappointed to lose him, which always gives a bit of an indication, doesn't it, just to how highly regarded a player is at their club.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a bit of a surprise, actually, looking at Max Sanders, looking at his history. He'd had a good loan spell at Wimbledon. There was lots and lots of talk of him being the next player to come through the under-23s into Brighton's first team. Some news reports at the beginning of the year had him going out on loan in the Championship, which I think speaks for the pedigree that he has. I admit I did have to do a little bit of research on him. He wasn't a player that I was fully aware of when he first signed, but on paper he looks very, very good. I don't think that I can pretend to be an expert on Brighton under-23s and say he's going to be a phenomenal signing, but all the signals point to him being the sort of player that could generate either a big transfer sum or Championship football.
Well, let's now hear what Max Sanders had to say, speaking to the Imps media team earlier on this week. He says he's pretty delighted to join the Imps.
No, yeah, I'm buzzing obviously to get it done. As soon as I heard of Lincoln, such a big club, and obviously on the up, being the top of the league as well, it was, yeah, as soon as I heard about the interest, I was kind of drawn to it straight away. So to get it done, I'm just buzzing and just want to get going now, really. So yeah.
And you mentioned obviously what attracted you to the club. So what did attract you to Lincoln City Football Club to work under Michael Appleton? I
mean, I think obviously the manager start with the way that he wants to play, and obviously watching a few of the games this season, play really good football. I think they've got a really good squad, a really good, coaching staff, and obviously I've heard all about the fans as well, which is a big thing for this club as well. So once they can get back in, it'll be even better. But yeah, I think it's just it's just a good fit for me. I'm a ball playing midfielder, so the team that plays is perfect. So.
And you mentioned the fans there. Obviously, what are they to look out for in your playing style? You mentioned you were ball playing midfielder. What they?
Yeah, I mean, I like to get on the ball a lot, dictate the play. That's really what I do. I put my foot in as well. I can play anywhere in midfield really. I mean, I spent time playing as a number 4 and as an 8, so I can do either really. It's just wherever the manager wants me to play, I'll do it.
And you obviously know the level. You've been at Wimbledon on loan before, so you're looking forward to getting back out and playing regular football? Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I've missed it a lot, to be fair. The experience of Wimbledon was really good for me to get them games in. So I know the league well, obviously, but I think Lincoln is obviously a step up in the way that I want to play, and so I think it's perfect for me right now. It's a good fit.
Yeah, Max Sanders, the new signing, speaking to Lincoln City's Charlie Russell there. Gary, interesting to hear him talking about his style of play, his position, saying, look, he likes to dictate play, likes to get on the ball and get it out to the wingers as well. Are we expecting not a Liam Bridcut replacement, but someone that eventually is going to sort of nail down that position themselves, you would hope?
Yeah, absolutely. Dare I say, heir apparent. I think in terms of the holding midfield role, it's probably the one area where we've struggled for cover, and that's with the greatest respect. George Grant plays there very, very well. When you take George Grant out of the kind of the double eights, the attacking midfield, I think we do feel it and you do see it. So I think that to bring Max Sanders in is giving us, first of all, cover for Liam Bridcut. Longer term, we know Liam probably won't play Saturday, Tuesday, and that's going to be demanded of this squad. So when Max is up and running, I can see him sitting there in the holding midfield role. I think long term, potentially he is Liam's replacement. And football's a very fast moving game, Sam, as you know, and players do come and go, and we always have to plan ahead, and I think that this is a big plan ahead.
We'll get the thoughts of Cohen Bramall just after 5 o'clock this afternoon. We'll be bringing you the team news live in a couple of minutes' time as well. Gary, just from a deadline day or transfer window sort of perspective, what did you make of the business that the Imps did?
I thought it was strong, and I think with any business, look, you can look at names and you can look at reputation and all that sort of thing and make a judgment, and from that it does look very good. We've already seen Morgan Rogers in action, and the 3 players that we signed over the course of the weekend are all League 2 quality. They've all played regular games in League 2 or in Cohen Bramble's instance, League 1. So I think they're all good additions to the squad. I think when you look at the positions, they're all positions that people had either identified as needing players, or when you look at Robbie Gott's leaving, right back and a defensive midfielder, and we've kind of brought someone in to cover those as well. Obviously, the proof's in the pudding. It depends how they settle. It's a hard task to join a successful side and hit the ground running. So there's also a lot to be said for integrating themselves into the side. I don't expect any of them to be making starts in the next week or two, but I think come March, I think we'll see some real benefit from our smart transfer business.
Right then, it's 5 o'clock, an hour before kickoff, which means one thing and one thing only. It's time for this evening's team news. So this is the team that Michael Appleton has named to play Gillingham this evening. Alex Palmer in goal, TJ Omer, Adam Jackson and Joe Walsh at the centre-back pairing. Lewis Monsma is on the bench. Teo Eden also plays. He plays at left-back, of course. It is then Liam Bridcut, Conor McGrandles and George Grant. Morgan Rogers starts alongside Brennan Johnson and Tom Hopper. The bench is then Long, Poole, Monsma, Jones, Scully, Bramall, and Harry Anderson, the goal scorer from the other night as well. So, Gary, let's start with no Lewis Monsma then. He drops back to the bench, and it is Adam Jackson and Joe Walsh who start for the Imps.
Yeah, as I said, it was always going to be a bit of a toss-up. I think it's Michael's philosophy is if you're doing well, you don't get dropped, as I said at the top of the programme. And he's clearly stuck to that. I think Joe Walsh has been outstanding. I think he's done really well considering he started behind the rest with his injury early doors. Again, I've got no complaints, and I don't think Lewis Monsma will have either. He was excellent in the trophy in midweek. But again, you have to earn that starting place. And also, let's think about freshness as well. Monsma put 90 minutes in. He's been out of action. We've got a big game on Tuesday, so squad rotation is important as well.
Yeah, and Cohen Bramall on the bench as well, hoping to make his first appearance for the Imps, Gary.
Yeah, no surprise there. I think Bramall and Poole Both of them will make their first appearances coming from the bench, probably in the last 20, 25 minutes of a game, depending on how we're doing. I didn't expect either of them to start. I mean, look, TJ Omer and Teo Eden have been two of our strongest performers over the last 6 or 8 weeks. They've both been outstanding. So it will take a big effort from those two new players to dislodge our current fullback pairing.
So we heard from Max Sanders earlier on in the show. Let's now hear from the man that we've just been discussing, Cohen Bramall. This is what he had to say just after putting pen to paper for the Imps.
Yeah, I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing that it's just got over the line, and I just can't wait to get started, really.
So what made you and what attracted you to the club?
The football, to be fair. The football's been, I've been watching over the last couple of months, and it's really attractive football. I know it suits my game. The gaffer, I've had a couple of words with him and he's been really positive. And yeah, the football, it suits me, and it's just me, really.
You mentioned you enjoy the football. What sort of aspects and what parts of your games do you think the fans can really look forward to?
Wide positions, the inside runs that I do, overlapping and underlapping. I think they can be looking forward to my pace, really. That's me. It's just my pace, my endurance. I like getting forward, I like putting in crosses, back posts, cut back, 6-yard crosses. That's me, really.
And you mentioned Michael as well, so you must be really looking forward to working under someone like Michael who has that sort of history of developing players to reach their potential and further.
Yeah, 100%. He's got the ambition and he's got the drive to get me to the next level in my career. And I trust him to do that 100%. Again, like I said, the football's really attractive, and I can't wait for him to work under him, really. And
you're still only 24, and you've got a wealth of experience. Obviously, you've been at Arsenal, you're playing the Championship, and with Colchester as well in League Two. How's that sort of experience helped you, despite being still a young age? Like, how's that helped you in first team football?
Arsenal was, was a dream come true. I think everyone knows that now. Working under the likes of Arsene Wenger, coaches Freddie Lundberg, it's been it's a dream come true, and they've helped me, to be the player I am today and the character I am today. Birmingham, difficult time, but a massive learning curve with Birmingham City. An experience I'll never forget. Again, it's made me to the person I am today. And Colchester's just been. It's worked wonders for me, It's given me that platform that I can go again and reach the next level in my career. And it's just more experience.
Yeah, Arsene Wenger, Freddie Lundberg, not bad people to learn from, are they, Gary? We're getting to the stage where the members of this City squad have, of some sort, they do have Premier League experience to their name, don't they? That's quite a few members of this team now that you think, okay, in some capacity, they have a connection with a Premier League club, which can only bode well.
Yeah, definitely. I think you see it in the quality as well. You look at TJ Omer and Teo Eden, both of whom have been at clubs in the Premier League during their youth career. And you see it in their technique, you see it in the way that they read the game, the training patterns. Anthony Scully's another one at West Ham who was talking to me about being taught patterns of play at 11 and 12 years old. So when you've been in these Premier League clubs, whether it's the academies, whether it's the under-23s, you do learn some really good habits. And it's certainly very exciting to see Cohen Bramall come through from Arsenal. I do also like the fact he's got the non-league experience though as well, because I think that can add something, be it character. I mean, I understand that he signed for Arsenal the day after being laid off from his job. And I just think, again, there's a really nice story there. So I'm keen to see him in action for City.
Absolutely. In terms of the rest of the team news, Gary, who would you like to discuss? Anthony Scully, back in the starting 11, played really well, didn't he, the other night?
Yeah, he's not. He's actually on the bench. And that's what surprised me. Because he was named, the Stacey West Readers named him their Player of the Month last month. He's been amongst the goals, he's been amongst the assists. He's going to count himself really unlucky. But I think that what that points to is that squad beginning to build up and look nice and strong once again. And I think over December and January, we began to see, a weakened bench almost. We only had 4 subs the other night, but players are coming fit again. And when you look at that bench right now, Lewis Munsma, James Jones, Anthony Scully, Harry Anderson, any single one of those has been a first team player at some point this season. Then you've got Regan Poole, Cohen Bramall's played regular football all season as well. The team is as strong, arguably, as it could be. We've still got Callum Morton to come into that. We've still got Max Sanders to come into that. We're just getting into a strong position at the right time, I think.
So this is what happens when you're trying to direct a show and present it at the same time. You don't even know who's starting for your own club, but well picked up from Gary Hutchinson as ever. Should we have a look at a goal of the month? Of course, we're into February now, but plenty of goals for the Imps in January. Let's have a look at some of them now. Yeah, some big moments there, no doubt about that. You've been voting on Twitter for your favourite January goal of the month. I can tell you that Teo Eden leading the way on 54%, Tom Hopper 5%, Anthony Scully 17% as things stands, and Morgan Rogers on 24%. Gary, your favourite out of those?
My favourite and the best are two very different ones, because I think the best was probably Teo Eden's goal. Really nice strike, controlled drive. And my favourite's got to be Portsmouth, when you hit a winning goal away at Portsmouth. And I think the euphoria when it went in as well makes that my favourite goal, but potentially not the goal of the month.
Like it. You can still get your votes in for that now by going on to the Imps official Twitter page as well. We'll be speaking to a Gillingham fan very shortly. In the meantime, let's hear the pre-match thoughts of the Lincoln City manager, Michael Appleton. This is what he had to say.
Yeah, they probably feel that they've been a little bit inconsistent, but like you say, the more they're capable of getting a result against one of the sides who are doing well this year. And you've mentioned obviously the Accrington and Sunderland one, obviously last weekend against Sunderland. They can do that, they can produce that, and they'll be looking to produce that again tomorrow night. I've got no doubt. They've got a bit of quality in the side that can hurt you and be dangerous, and we've got to be mindful of that.
Is it always necessarily an advantage that they didn't play in midweek? Sometimes I think you can take a lot, as you said, in terms of emotion of the players from the game on Tuesday.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, but the way we look at it is that we're in a pretty good place, and arguably Saturday was one of the most difficult defeats to take this season, just because of how well we played. But then to bounce back on Tuesday, obviously we're going into the game full of confidence, and hopefully, from a mental and physical point of view, later in the game when it will really tell. Hopefully, we're in a position where we can, kick on.
Inevitably, when you talk about Gillingham, the manager comes up. I spent 5, 6, 7 years interviewing him, so I got to know him reasonably well. I can't think of two more different people, you and Steve Evans.
No, listen, at the end of the day, surely that's a good thing with football. You have to have different characters and personalities, and it takes all sorts really to sort of produce the levels of entertainment that we want from the sport. So yeah, I mean, two contrasting styles going into the game in terms of the teams and the way they set up. And yeah, it's on Sky, so hopefully we'll be able to put in a decent performance.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life, isn't it? Gary, on Sky, Michael Appleton mentioned we've not even had a chance to talk about the fact that this is a nationally televised game, a Friday night game as well. I'm going to put you right on the spot, although you've been on the spot all evening, of course, half directing the show. But try and answer this one for me, and if not, we'll ask people to comment at home as well. When was the last time the Imps were on TV on a Friday night?
I would think it was the 2-0 win against Dover, which came after one of the FA Cup wins. We played them on a Friday night. We needed a win, a desperate win. And I seem to think Terry Hawkridge scored an own goal as well against a very good Dover side with Ricky Miller. There might have been one since, but that strikes me. I also remember us being on Sky back on a Friday night in 96-97 against Cambridge. It was a 0-0 draw. John Beck pumped the ball forward, got the lads pumping it forward for 90 minutes. Horrendous game. Horrendous.
What about Walsall, 2007, Spencer Weir Daily double? Kate Jackson informs me that was a Friday night. I thought it was a Tuesday night, but I will bow to Kate's expertise.
Yeah, I wouldn't question Kate because she's normally spot on. I do remember that game on Sky as well. Yeah, it was a great result, and it was such a shame because that team should have gone up automatically, but they just didn't have the same strength or character going into the final stretch of the season, which this one does.
Yeah, played some football, didn't they, under John Schofield? Right, let's get the thoughts of a Gillingham fan now. Darren Stock joins us from the Gills in the Blood podcast. Darren, nice to see you. 13th in League One then. What have you made of your side start to the season?
Evening, Sam. Hope you're doing well. Our start has been very inconsistent this year. We've gone on a run of games where we've done well and we've picked up a few wins, and then we followed that up with games where we've gone 4-5 with without a win and been defeated. Currently, we're on the back of a 4-game unbeaten run and hoping we can extend that further tonight.
What about the job that Steve Evans has done then? He's come in and certainly steadied the ship, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Last year, I think he overachieved, in all honesty. Finished 10th after the season finished early, and I think we had an outside chance of getting the playoffs. This year, probably not quite hit the heights of last season. But as I said, the last few games we've been unbeaten. The style of play in the past few games has been a lot more enjoyable to watch. There's been some frustrating times this season as a Gills fan, especially recently where we lost at home to Burton. We had a frustrating home draw against Rochdale. Donny away where we was played off the park, in all honesty, and barely had any possession. So there's definitely been highs and lows this season, but hopefully now the January transfer window's gone, we can start to kick on, and you never know. We've got an outside chance of the playoffs. I think we probably will finish around about where we are now, in all honesty.
Hi Darren, hope you're well, mate. A quick one from me. You've got 2 ex-Imps. It would be really easy to focus on John Akindi. I'm interested to hear your take on Dane Oliver, a player that's played non-league, League 2, probably playing at the highest level now. How's he done for you, and how does he fit in with your patterns of play?
Yeah, Dane has been absolutely excellent. Last season we had Mikel Mandron, and we wanted him to stay, in all honesty, and he left the Crew and he's doing well there. Dane come in, I'd seen him in the playoffs at the back end of last season and was impressed with him. So when he announced that he was coming to us, I was quite happy that we managed to get his signing. But yeah, he's done very, very well. He's probably got more goals than what I thought he would do, because he's a target man. I thought he'd get as many assists as he has goals, but he definitely helps our style of play. He seems to win everything that's put in the air. He's finished in the team of the week the past few weeks. And he goes under the radar at times due to other players we've got, such as Jordan Graham, Cole Dempsey. But a good player for us, and one that I'm pleased to have in our squad.
Dan, I've not seen your starting 11 this evening. I'm not sure if it's been released on social media yet. Don't know. Have you had a chance to see it? If so, what do you make of it? Otherwise, which other players should we be looking out for this evening?
I've not seen it as of yet. Gills hasn't released the team prior to coming on here. As for ones to watch out for, the names I've already mentioned: Jordan Graham and Kyle Dempsey. Jordan Graham especially had a brilliant game against Sunderland away recently. Kyle Dempsey's been adding goals to his game, and the other one to look out for is Ollie Lee as well. He's been the difference for me as to how our style of play has changed in the last few games since we got Ollie Lee back to the club. Jill seems to have been a lot more better. He's a technically gifted player, and he looks to make things happen every time he's got the ball.
Just finally then, Darren, let's finish on a score prediction from yourself, please.
Score prediction, I will take a point tonight. Obviously, yourselves are in a good run of form. You're near the top of the league for a reason, and I will predict a 1-1 score draw tonight.
Interesting stuff. Darren, thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the game as well.
No worries. Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Darren.
That's Darren Stock from the Gills in the Blood podcast. Gary, they seem pretty content, don't they, Gillingham fans, having spoken to Darren just then and a few before the show as well. With the way this season's going, it's about, consolidation at this, I guess, unpredictable point in time as well, and then maybe building from there next season, it would seem.
Yeah, I think they've got a right to be content. I think they've done certainly very well last season. Had the season continued to its conclusion, they were an outside bet for the playoffs. I think Steve Evans draws certain emotions from Lincoln fans. It's very, very easy to paint him as a pantomime villain. I think when he's had a big budget, he hasn't perhaps done as well as he has when he's actually had to use a little bit of acumen. He's certainly done that at Gillingham. I mean, some of his signings are very impressive. Darren mentioned Kyle Dempsey there, who was at Fleetwood last season, who's a really good player, raised eyebrows when they signed him. Obviously, Jordan Graham, as I said, Connor Ogilvie. Ollie Lee has just joined back from Hearts on loan. He's another quality footballer. I think he was at Luton Town when they won the League Two title as well. So, he's a very canny operator, is Steve Evans. Love him or loathe him, he keeps getting jobs for a reason. And that's because he's a half-decent football manager. I think Gillingham fans have got every right to be content at the moment.
Busy show this evening. Not even really had a chance to look back on that quite unbelievable, really, game against Doncaster. So let's do that now. And Gary, you're going to try and tell me just how Lincoln City got nothing from this game.
That's football, dare I say. We got nothing from this game because nobody picked that boy up when he made his way to the edge of the area. The longer the game goes on at 0-0, they're still going to go compact, but they were able to defend a lead. Good teams do that. We did play very, very well. We played the ball about nicely. We probed for an opening. But unfortunately, you miss two penalties, you pay, pardon the pun, you pay the penalty. And we did, unfortunately. As I say, it sounds blasé to say that's football. If you're third from bottom and you lose that game playing that well, you get very angry about it. But in the grand scheme of things, we've had some luck. We've won games where we haven't played well. So there's always going to be a flip side to that.
Yeah, I mean, Darren Moore, yet another opposition manager who came out and immediately was full of praise for City, the way they played, and said, look, if you finish above Lincoln this season, you probably will go up, which, judging by the football that once again was on show here, is a pretty fair assumption.
Yeah, you'd certainly hope so. I think everything's in place for us to have a strong season, a season where we're hunting for promotion, other managers recognise that. Other managers see how we're playing. Steve Evans was full of praise ahead of this game for us for the way we played, the way that we've done our business. We're not one of the big powers in the league. We're not a Sunderland or an Ipswich or somebody that's got a lot of money to spend. But we play football, and we play football very, very well indeed. Just a word on that. I actually think the contact for that second penalty was probably out of the area. It may have been harsh to have awarded it. I'd also like to mention their goalkeeper. I thought he had a superb game. And then Alex Palmer went and did something similar on Tuesday night. And all good teams have a goalkeeper that they can rely on. And I think we're in a good position with Alex Palmer as well.
Just a word on George. He's obviously scored a fair few penalties this season. I'll put the one away on Tuesday night as well. Is it just a case of, look, we're getting so many penalties, really creating so many chances that keepers are going to be able to do their homework on a side who have a lot of penalties? Is it as simple as that? Bit of bad luck mixed in as well?
Potentially. I don't think they were poor penalties. I think that his penalty style sometimes draws a save because they do tend to be lower. They tend to be a savable height. But you can say the same about John Akindi, and his record was first class. I think there's actually something to be said for varying your penalty taker. And I know there was criticism from some quarters that George didn't pick up the ball and take the second one. But in actual fact, if you think about it, if a club has 4 or 5 people who can take a penalty and take a penalty competently, how does a goalkeeper study for that in league action? George has taken a lot of penalties. There's lots of material out there to study. So I can understand how a keeper tries to second guess him and understands his technique. And I think in the penalty shootout the other night and in penalty shootouts that we've had, we've shown that we've got some competent penalty takers. I just don't think we should give it to Harry Anderson just yet on the strength of Tuesday night.
This is the League One table then, Gary. Of course, as we know, the Imps win this evening. They will go top of it for at least 24 hours. In terms of some of the fixtures that are coming up tomorrow, which ones stand out for you? Sunderland away at MK Dons is one of them. Portsmouth at home to Plymouth Argyle. There's a clip going viral on Twitter at the moment of Plymouth playing some absolutely brilliant football at Bramall Lane against Premier League Sheffield United as well. They'll give Portsmouth a good game, won't they, Plymouth?
Yeah, Ryan Lowe's teams always play football, and when we won the League Two title, we did so with our style. We weren't a bad side. We were a decent footballing side, but they played wonderful looking football, possession based football, and he's continued to do that with Plymouth. Now he's moved there. They'll give Portsmouth a game. Portsmouth as well, probably struggling a little bit mentally after a couple of damaging results. As you say, Sunderland at MK Dons. I think MK Dons made some great moves in the transfer window. They've signed Will Grigg, who obviously probably won't play against Sunderland, but he'll be a big force for them going forward as well. And they were delighted at MK Dons with their transfer business, and they lost Regan Poole, and I think that says everything. They weren't happy to lose him, but the other business, the subsequent business that they did, was very strong. Hull are away at Burton tomorrow. Now let me just go on record now. I think Burton Albion are a different prospect under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. I think they're stronger. I think they're more robust. I think they try and do things a little simpler. It could be a tough game. It would certainly not surprise me if it was a bruising encounter. And the harder game Hull will have on Saturday afternoon, the better for us. We've got an extra day to recover, and that could be key come Tuesday night.
Peterborough hosting Crewe as well. 2 very good sides there. Peterborough we know, but Crewe play some really good football too.
They do, and 2 sides though that have got a soft underbelly. So 2 sides that are very, very good on their day, but if you go there and attack them and you catch them right, you can spring a result. So it's going to be interesting. Peterborough, I think, are on the slide a little bit at the moment. They made no signings in the transfer window, and whilst that might show that they're content with their team, and rightly so, they've got a very, very strong side. You just wonder, is there an element of complacency that might drop in? It's a good job fans aren't in the stadium, because fans love to see new signings as well. So Peterborough need a big result against Crewe. Crewe don't need anything, but they're on the fringes of the playoffs. Nobody expected them to be there, and if they rise to the occasion, they could make a late shout to get in the top 6. So that'd be an interesting fixture, definitely.
Got about 5 minutes left of this evening's Matchday Live. So let me run you through the Lincoln City starting 11 that Michael Appleton is named ahead of this game as well. Alex Palmer's in goal. Lewis Monsma drops to the bench, having played against Hull in midweek. It's TJ Ioma, Jackson Walsh, and Teo Eden at the back. Liam Bridcut, Conor McGrandles, and George Grant. Morgan Rogers, Brennan Johnson, and Tom Hopper as well. Longpool, Monsma, as I mentioned, Jones, Scully, Bramall, and Anderson. Just a word on Harry Anderson, Gary, because he played really well, didn't he, the other night? Put in a real shift, and we're going to need him for the next few months. He's obviously had a couple of injury problems and illness problems over the last few weeks or so, but he's back, he's fully fit, and he's going to be a huge player.
Yes, he is, and we talk about his style every week on the show, and there will be games where we need his high energy. He does make some very sensible runs into the box as well. We saw that with his goal the other night. He gambled. He came across the front post and he gambled, and I like to see that. He's got that instinct. He arrives in the box at key areas, and you think back to our League Two title winning season where he had a habit of arriving in the box. Remember Everton, where he shocked them in the early minutes, arriving in the box. So he's a player that will make things happen. He's unlucky because, when you loan players from the Premier League, they tend to be attacking players. They tend to be fancy players. Even Brennan Johnson, who's come from Forest, massive, massive impact. And then him and Morgan Rogers are both so tricky, so clever, and will give fullbacks nightmares. But Harry Anderson, like Anthony Scully, will do a job when they come in the first team. They will always look solid. They will always give you 100%. You know what you're going to get from them both. They'll both they won't be smarting from being dropped because they understand that's part of playing in a successful team. But both of them will be aching to get back in the side. And I would be very surprised. We've named a strong 11 today. Be very surprised if it was an unchanged 11 on Tuesday night, given the proximity of the games. And that bodes well for all of those players on the bench.
A word on this man, Gary, Regan Poole, who we spoke to live. We announced his signing, which was great fun to do on Matchday Live on Saturday. And he seems absolutely delighted to be here, doesn't he? Not just in that photo, but when we spoke to him live last week. Immediately, the comments came flooding in saying, wow, what a big signing this is. He's a player with some serious pedigree, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's, again, we talk about that Premier League experience. He's been at Manchester United, so he's had that coach and he's got very good technique. I understand from MK Dons fans that I've spoke to subsequently that perhaps he wasn't going to get a game at right back there. He was more of a right centre back. He thinks he's more of a right back. Michael has signed him, in my opinion, as a right back. We know that Michael likes versatile players. And sometimes a player can really thrive when he's played in the position that he wants to play in. And I think back over time at Lincoln, where we've perhaps played a player out of position, one that springs to mind, very popular figure at Sincilbank was Matt Carmichael, who we converted from a striker to a defender, and then he left, went to Scunthorpe, played as a striker, I think scored 25 goals in a season. So what you've got is a player here who's coming to play in the position that he wants to play in. He's played regular football at this level. He impressed me at Newport. Apparently he was impressive at Northampton. He played at Manchester United, albeit briefly. Again, he's a great addition to the squad. We don't actually, I don't want to say this wrong, but we don't need the transfer window signings. We didn't look at the squad and say, we have to have a right back. We have to have a defensive midfielder. We've signed players that add to the squad, that make it stronger, that don't kind of take other players out. And again, I think we're in such a good position squad-wise. It's unreal.
What are we expecting tonight then, Gary, just to finish with in terms of A, a score prediction, which I'll ask you just after, but B, really, in terms of the performance from the Imps tonight? Are we expecting a bit of an angry performance following what happened on Saturday? More measured? What do you think?
I think the same performance. I think that Michael is a manager who manages to keep expectations in check. I think that he doesn't let the lads get too low when they lose. I think we saw that against Hull. We did very, very well. Also, I don't think that he lets them get too high when they win. We've got to where we are by doing the same things right week in, week out. And the only games where you think where we haven't done that right, Sunderland, Bristol Rovers, it's come undone. If we stick to the game plan, if we play our game, then I think we'll do very well. What I would say is that Steve Evans is a master of stopping teams playing. We went to Priestfield last season. He stopped us playing. We got beat. It was a woeful performance from the Imps. This is Imps Mark II. So I think we've got different ways of playing. We're more adaptable, so it will be a different game to last season rather. But it's still going to be a big, big challenge.
And your score prediction?
I knew you were going to say that, Sam. Well, I got one wrong, I say thankfully, but obviously not last week. I can see it being a draw tonight. I can actually see it being 0-0. I can see them stifling the game. So put your money on a goal for the first 10 minutes.
There you go. A job well done tonight, Gary. The multi-talented Gary Hutchinson joining us on Matchday Live this evening, not only giving some brilliant insight and brilliant punditry, but helping direct the show as well.
Thank you very much, Sam. Nice one. Cheers.
Great to have Gary Hutchinson on Matchday Live as ever. Myself and Gary back on Tuesday evening as well for another massive, massive League One fixture. In the meantime, if you're watching abroad this evening, you can get your match pass by going to www.weareimps.com/ifollow. Of course, the game live on Sky Sports this evening as well. Build up on there, just about starting. You can get your build up radio-wise on BBC Radio Lincolnshire as well with Michael Horton, Rob Makepeace and Steve Thompson too. Until then, enjoy the game. Fingers crossed the Imps return to the top of the League One table. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.